Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel, The Intimacy Lab. I want you to take a moment and breathe with me. Yes, right here, right now, breathe, let yourself settle. Because what we are about to talk about is delicate, powerful, and perhaps even a little dangerous. Have you ever found yourself wondering why, in some conversations, her eyes soften, her posture leans in, and something invisible yet electric begins to pass between you, while in other moments that connection seems impossibly distant? Why is it that certain questions can draw her closer, ignite curiosity, desire, even longing, while others fall flat, closing her heart before you even realize what's happened? This is not about manipulation. This is about mastery. Mastery of emotional attunement, of curiosity, of intimacy itself. When you ask the right question, you are doing far more than seeking information. You are inviting her to feel alive, seen, and desired, not simply as an object of your affection, but as a whole, complex, sensual woman. In this video, we will explore 7 irresistible questions that have the almost magical power to trigger female desire, not because they are tricks, but because they reach the heart of what women truly long for in connection: curiosity, understanding, attentiveness. These are questions that, when asked with sincerity and confidence, can deepen intimacy and ignite passion in ways most men will never understand. So sit back, open yourself to this journey, and let's begin together. And so let's ease into this. When we talk about desire, especially female desire, we're not talking about something transactional or mechanical. We're talking about something tender and wild, ancient and yet modern, a landscape where emotional connection, curiosity, mystery, and presence shape the terrain. And most men, they walk this landscape like tourists with a bad map, but you're here because you sense there's a different way. Let's begin with a simple but potent truth. Women are drawn to men who make them feel not just desired but understood. And curiosity, genuine, embodied curiosity, is the first portal. So the very first irresistible question you can ask her is this: when was the last time you felt truly desired, like adored, craved, without hesitation or doubt? Do you feel the weight of that question? Most women walk through their lives not often feeling deeply desired, even by the men they love. This isn't about physical compliments or flattery. It's about creating a space where she can reflect on her own experience of being wanted. And the moment she speaks about that memory, you are now associated with that desire in her mind. Your curiosity itself becomes an aphrodisiac, and the way you listen, eye contact, undivided attention matters as much as the question itself. When you ask this, do not rush, do not interrupt. Let her wander into that memory, and she will take you with her. But here's where many men fail. They think that one question is enough. It isn't. This is a conversation, not a one-time password. So you follow gently with the next irresistible invitation. What do you wish men understood about you, but almost never ask? Oh, that one opens a door few men ever knock on. This is not a question most women are used to hearing. It's not asking what she wants, what she likes, what her favorite movie is. It's an acknowledgement that women often live with layers of misunderstood complexity, desires and frustrations that they hold quietly because no one has created the space to ask, to hold. Understand, when you ask this, you are giving her permission to reveal parts of herself that feel hidden, even guarded. Her disappointments, her yearnings, her vulnerability, and in that moment she feels known, and when a woman feels known, her guard begins to fall. And behind that guard, that's where desire lives, in the places she didn't expect to show, but finds herself revealing. Now, notice what's happening here. You are not telling her what she wants. You are asking, but you are doing so with grace and genuine intrigue. You are becoming the man who sees her, not just the man who looks at her. Let's lean in even deeper. The third question takes this conversation from intellectual connection into the terrain of emotional resonance, because women don't desire with their heads alone. They desire with their hearts. their imagination, their history. The third irresistible question, what makes you feel beautiful? Not just look beautiful, but feel it. You see the distinction here. Many men compliment beauty, but few ask a woman what makes her feel beautiful. This question invites her to articulate her relationship with herself, her body, her sensuality in her own words. It respects her autonomy while gently inviting intimacy. And as she speaks, she is not just revealing her preferences, she is letting you into a tender, sacred relationship she has with her own self-image. And what happens when you listen? She feels safe, and when a woman feels safe to explore and express her beauty, her sensuality begins to unfold naturally, effortlessly. It's not a performance, it's a dance of connection, and you become the partner she didn't even know she was waiting for. At this point, you might notice something changing not just in her, but in you. You are no longer trying to impress. You are no longer reaching or grasping, you are witnessing. You are participating in the emergence of her authentic self, and this is where real desire begins, in the space where curiosity replaces assumption, where attention replaces strategy. I want you to hold this moment gently. Remember that these questions are not a checklist. They are invitations, openings, paths into her experience of herself, and by extension, her experience of you. And so, as we pause here for a breath, let's notice how far we've already come. We've moved beyond cliché compliments and shallow banter. We've begun asking questions that invite depth, that honor complexity, that stir the very soil where desire grows. The beauty of this approach is that you are not demanding anything. You are offering presence, curiosity, and space, and in doing so, you become irresistible, not because of what you say, but because of what you ask and how you listen. So breathe with me again here. Let this sink in. There's more, so much more to discover. So as you sit with what we've just explored, you may already notice something subtle but profound. This is not about impressing her, it's about revealing yourself as the man who dares to ask what most men never even think to ask. The man who enters her world not to conquer, but to understand, and that understanding is where desire truly lives. Let's stay there in that gentle curiosity and invite the fourth irresistible question. This one is deceptively simple but deeply stirring. What's a memory that makes you blush even now? The moment these words leave your mouth, something shifts. You're not asking for a dirty secret. You're inviting her to take you into her private landscape of memory, playfulness, embarrassment, desire. This question does something exquisite. It allows her to decide the tone and depth. It could be a memory from childhood, from youth, from a romantic encounter you don't know. And that is exactly why it is so irresistible. It's an invitation into her personal history, where blush is live. And as she begins to speak, whether it's a funny story about getting caught sneaking into a concert, or an intimate recollection of her first kiss, you're not judging or steering. You're allowing her to revisit those feelings, and in doing so, you awaken the very energy of youthful freedom and desire within her. She begins to associate you with that feeling of openness and play. And here's the secret most men miss. It's not about what the memory is, it's about the emotions that come alive in her as she speaks. The laughter, the hint of vulnerability, the sparkle of nostalgia. When a woman blushes in your presence, even from a memory, you have created a space that feels both playful and safe, a place where she can be simultaneously woman and girl, bold and shy, confident and coy. Now from here, the conversation deepens again. Because once you've invited her into that space of memory, of embarrassment, of delight, you can gently ask the next irresistible question, the fifth one in this journey. When do you feel most feminine, and what makes you feel that way? Oh, this one touches something essential. It goes to the heart of her relationship with her own feminine energy, and most men, sadly, never think to ask it. They may compliment her outfit, they may notice when she dresses up, but they rarely invite her to reflect on what makes her feel feminine inside her own skin. And every woman will answer this differently. For some, it's the feeling of a silk dress brushing her legs as she walks. For others, it's the scent of a favorite perfume, the feeling of sunlight on her bare shoulders, or the way she moves when she's dancing alone at home, barefoot and free. This question is not only about discovery, it's about co-creation, because as she tells you what makes her feel feminine, she is showing you how you can help her feel that way more often. She's handing you the keys to the energy that lights her up from within, and as she speaks, you are learning, not just about her preferences, but about her emotional and sensual landscape. And here is where your presence, again, matters more than your words. You don't rush to say, "Oh, you look feminine when you wear that dress." No. You listen, you let her unfold, you allow her to paint that picture in her own language, her own textures, her own memories. And as she does, desire begins to rise, not because you chased it, but because you allowed it. There's something else this question does. It tells her that you see femininity not as a surface-level thing, not just makeup or clothing, but as a feeling, a mood, an energy. And that is rare for a man to recognize. That makes you stand apart. Because suddenly you are not treating her femininity as something ornamental, but as something essential, emotional, sacred. And when a woman feels that you see her feminine energy as sacred, her desire responds at a level that goes far beyond logic or physical attraction. So notice how far we have journeyed already, from curiosity about her past experiences of desire to what she wishes men understood, to what makes her feel beautiful, to the memories that still make her blush, and now to the essence of her femininity itself. This is a path few men ever walk, and that is exactly why it is so potent. But what matters most here, my dear friend, is that you are doing all of this not as a performance or a seduction technique, but as an expression of true curiosity. And in this, you are showing her that desire is not something to be forced or manipulated. It is something to be invited, nurtured, coaxed gently from the depths. And that's what separates this approach from cheap tricks or pickup lines. This is relational artistry. This is emotional leadership. This is how you become not just desirable, but unforgettable. Feel this shift inside yourself as we continue. You are learning to hold a different kind of space, the kind of space where a woman doesn't just feel wanted, but feels seen, heard, and cherished. And when she feels that, desire flows naturally, not because you demanded it, but because you made it safe for her to feel it. Breathe that in, let it settle. So as we breathe together here, let's feel the ground we are walking on, tender, intimate, revealing, and yet we're not rushing, not grasping. We are gently unfolding this dance where desire is awakened through curiosity, attention, and respect. You've already asked her what makes her feel desired, what she wishes men understood, what makes her feel beautiful, what memory makes her blush, and when she feels most feminine. These are not just questions, they are invitations into her lived, sensual experience. And now, as we gently move deeper, you are ready to ask a question that many men fear to ask because it requires courage. It requires you to stand vulnerably in front of her emotional truth. The sixth irresistible question: what kind of touch makes you feel safe, and what kind makes you feel desired? Notice how that lands. This is not simply a question about preferences. It is a profound inquiry into her emotional and physical landscape. Women often live in a tension between wanting to feel safe and wanting to feel desired, and they are not the same thing. When you ask this question, you are demonstrating a level of emotional maturity that very few men possess. You are saying, I want to know how you experience touch, not how I think you should experience it, or how I want to give it, but how you feel it. And as she answers, she may speak of the tenderness she craves, the way a slow, reassuring stroke down her back makes her body relax, or how a hand gently placed on the small of her back as she walked beside you makes her feel claimed, cherished, and protected, or she may speak of something far more subtle, a glance, a brush of fingertips, a moment where your presence feels fully attuned to her energy. You listen deeply not to create a checklist, but to attune yourself to her rhythms. And here's the magic. By asking her to reflect on how touch makes her feel safe and desired, you are priming her body and mind to experience both safety and desire with you. It is in this delicate dance between emotional trust and erotic tension that female desire is most alive. Safety without desire feels like friendship. Desire without safety feels like danger, but safety and desire together. That's where intimacy becomes irresistible. Now, as this conversation deepens, as she softens into your presence, as she realizes that you are a man who dares to ask these questions, not because you're looking for answers, but because you care about understanding, there is one more irresistible question that will bring this entire dance into a beautiful, powerful focus. The seventh question, the one that reveals not only who she is, but also who you are willing to be with her. What is one thing you've always wanted a lover to notice about you, but they never did? Let that one linger for a moment. This is a question that touches the heart of longing. It asks her what part of you, what detail, what gesture, what essence has gone unnoticed, unappreciated, unclaimed. Perhaps it is the way she expresses herself creatively. Perhaps it is a quirky detail, like how she tilts her head when she's thinking deeply. Maybe it's her hidden strength, or her secret softness, or the way she gives endlessly, but no one notices when she's depleted. Whatever it is, when you ask this question, you are saying, "Show me the parts of you that you think no one sees. I am here to see them," and when a woman feels that you are willing to notice not just what's obvious, but what's hidden, subtle, unique, her desire awakens in a completely different way. You become not just a man she's attracted to, but a man who sees her in ways no one else ever has. And here's what's beautiful about this question. It isn't about fixing or solving anything. It's about witnessing. When you ask a woman what she wishes a lover had noticed, you are allowing her to grieve past disappointments and feel hope for new connections, all in the same breath. You become a safe harbor for her emotional history and a lighthouse for her future desire, and there is no deeper intimacy than that. So now, as we pause for breath again, take this in. Through these 7 questions you are not performing. You are inviting, you are creating a field where curiosity meets care, where safety meets seduction, where presence meets play. And as you walk this path with her, your own experience changes too. You find that you no longer need to rely on outdated scripts or techniques. You no longer need to ask, "What should I say next?" Because your curiosity guides you naturally. You become a man who listens not to respond, but to understand. You become a man who asks not because he's playing a game, but because he honors the complexity of her interior world. And this is the ultimate truth. Female desire is not unlocked by strategy, it is unlocked by presence. The right questions, asked with the right intention at the right pace, with genuine attention, can change the entire landscape of intimacy. So stay with me, stay curious, stay attuned. We are only just beginning to feel the depth of this journey, and I want you to notice that these questions do not belong in one conversation. They are a way of being, a posture of connection. They will weave themselves into every interaction you have, whether in a long-term relationship or a fleeting encounter. They will make you magnetic, not because you have all the answers, but because you know how to ask the right questions. Questions that stir her emotions, awaken her body, open her heart, and invite her spirit to rise. So breathe once more. Feel how different this approach is, not mechanical, not formulaic, but deeply human, deeply alive. As we continue this dance, you may already feel something shifting inside you. This isn't just about understanding women. It's about understanding intimacy itself, how fragile and sacred it is, and how rare it is to meet someone who invites you into their interior world gently, carefully, respectfully. These questions we've explored, they are not scripts to memorize, they are doorways. And as you walk through them, you'll notice that women respond not simply because of what you ask, but because of how you are when you ask. Your presence becomes an invitation in itself, and as you begin to embody this energy, something else will become clear. These questions don't just elicit desire, they elicit trust. They allow a woman to feel safe while also feeling alive, awakened, expressive. And when she feels that combination in your presence, the connection becomes electric. You see, most men rush, they seek the shortcut, they want desire to be linear, transactional. If I do this, then she will feel that. But desire does not obey linearity. It is a spiral, a weaving, a seduction that takes its time. And the man who understands this becomes rare, almost irresistible, not because he demands attention, but because his attention itself becomes precious. Imagine this with me. When you ask her, when do you feel most feminine, you're not asking her to perform femininity for you. You are inviting her to reflect on how she experiences herself when she feels most radiant, most alive, most deeply connected to her essence. And as she reflects, she begins to notice those moments again in herself, and this brings her closer to you, even without effort. When you ask her, what makes you feel beautiful? You are offering her a chance to reclaim parts of herself that may have felt overlooked or dismissed in past relationships. Your question itself is a gift. When you ask what kind of touch makes you feel safe and what kind makes you feel desired, you are saying to her without words, I care about your experience. I care about your safety. I care about your pleasure. And when you ask, what is one thing you always wished a lover would notice about you, you are standing in the rare position of being the man who does not seek simply to possess her, but to know her, not superficially but profoundly, and what happens inside her at that moment. She feels seen, she feels honored. She feels like more than just a woman in front of you, she feels like a woman who matters. And here's the most beautiful paradox. When she feels seen in this way, desire becomes effortless. She begins to lean in, to laugh more freely, to speak with greater openness. Her body language changes not because you manipulated her, but because you created an environment where she feels safe to desire and to be desired. And this, my dear friend, is the art of relational seduction, not seduction as deception, but seduction as invitation. It is an art that few men practice because it requires a profound patience, a willingness to be present without rushing, a capacity to feel her rhythm without imposing your own agenda. This kind of man, the one who can hold that space with curiosity, warmth, playfulness, and tenderness, he becomes unforgettable. Even if she has known other men who are more handsome, more accomplished, more charming, she will remember you. She will remember the way she felt when she was with you. She will remember that in your presence she felt fully feminine, fully beautiful, fully desired, fully herself. And as you embody this presence more and more, you will notice that women begin to respond to you differently, not because you say the perfect thing, but because you have become comfortable in your own masculine presence. You are no longer performing, you are simply being. And in that being, you create an atmosphere where desire can naturally arise. I want you to feel this deeply. The real secret here is not simply the words of the 7 questions, but the quality of your attention when you ask them. Your stillness, your patience, your genuine interest, that is what makes these questions irresistible. Not the cleverness of their phrasing, but the sincerity of your curiosity. You see, desire is not about acquisition, it is about connection, it is not about lines, it is about presence. And when you embody this presence, every interaction you have becomes an opportunity for intimacy, not just sexual intimacy, but emotional, psychological, spiritual intimacy. And this is rare, this is powerful, this is what distinguishes the man who merely seeks attention from the man who holds attention with grace, curiosity, and tenderness. So as we sit here together, reflecting on these questions and the way they open doors into a woman's experience, I want you to notice something important. This is not a script you pull out on a date like a magician's trick. This is a way of being, a way of relating, a way of walking through the world. And when you adopt this way of being, you discover that it transforms not just your relationships with women, but your relationship with yourself. You become more attuned, more patient, more present, more grounded in your own body, more capable of giving, of receiving, of holding space. That is the true gift of this approach. Not simply that it allows you to connect with women in a deeper, more irresistible way, but that it invites you to become a deeper, more present, more irresistible version of yourself. And this, ultimately, is what every woman desires, a man who can hold her complexity with tenderness, her mystery with curiosity, her beauty with reverence, her vulnerability with strength. Breathe into that, feel how rare that is, and how beautiful it can be to become that man. And so here we are, having traveled together through this intimate landscape of questions, curiosity, and connection. As you reflect on everything we've uncovered, these 7 irresistible invitations into a woman's inner world, can you feel how different this path is from what most men walk? This is not about tips or tactics. This is about awakening a new way of relating, one that allows you to meet women not just as potential lovers, but as living, breathing, complex beings whose desire is activated by your presence. Patience and emotional attunement, and now let me say something very important, something that perhaps no one has ever told you in quite this way: you do not need to be perfect. You do not need to say all the right words. What matters most is that you show up with sincerity. When you ask her, when was the last time you felt truly desired? Or what do you wish men understood about you? Or what is one thing you've always wished a lover would notice? You are not asking for performance's sake. You are asking because you are genuinely curious about who she is, and this truly is what makes a man irresistible, his willingness to care. Not as a strategy, not as a performance, but as a way of being. When a woman senses that you are asking questions not to get something from her, but to discover something with her, everything changes. Her defenses soften, her desire awakens, her attention lingers. You see, desire cannot be demanded. It cannot be manufactured, it cannot be reduced to a formula. Desire is a response to presence, curiosity, respect. When you hold space for her to explore herself in your presence, she begins to see herself through your attentive eyes, and that is what makes her lean in, feel safe, feel alive, feel ready to open to you. And I want you to notice something else. Each of these questions we've explored is an invitation for you as well, not just to understand her, but to understand yourself. When you ask a woman what kind of touch makes her feel safe and desired, can you feel how that also invites you to reflect on how you give touch, how you hold touch, how you receive touch? When you ask her what she wishes men understood, are you not also asking yourself what you have misunderstood? When you ask her what makes her feel beautiful or feminine, might you also discover what makes you feel most alive, most present, most masculine? This path isn't simply about making women desire you. It's about becoming the kind of man whose presence itself ignites desire, not because you are performing, but because you are attuned. And this attunement is powerful, rare, magnetic. When you master this way of asking, listening, holding space, you become unforgettable. Even if she forgets your name, she will remember how she felt when she was with you. And that is what makes connection timeless. So, as we draw this conversation to a close, I want you to take this with you. Desire is not a trick to learn. It is a dance to invite. These questions are not lines to memorize. They are doors to gently open. And you are not here to control or manipulate desire. You are here to create an atmosphere where desire can emerge naturally, beautifully, effortlessly. When you adopt this approach, you will see how profoundly the quality of your relationships changes. You will notice that women respond to you differently, not because you are suddenly saying magic words, but because your energy has shifted. You become a man who listens deeply, who notices carefully, who asks questions that matter, and in doing so, you become a man who is rare, and that rarity itself is deeply attractive. And let me leave you with this encouragement: every interaction is a practice. You don't need to master this overnight. You don't need to become perfect. You simply need to begin asking differently, begin listening differently. Begin holding yourself differently, not as a man who seeks approval, but as a man who seeks connection. When you do this, you are giving women the gift they crave most deeply: to feel seen, heard, valued, desired, not just for their body, but for their mind, their heart, their complexity. So tonight or tomorrow, or whenever the opportunity presents itself, let yourself ask, gently, playfully, sincerely, one of these irresistible questions. See how she responds. Watch how she softens. Feel how differently the energy flows between you. And remember, these questions are not the destination, they are the beginning. They open doors to deeper intimacy, deeper understanding, deeper connection, and that is the real gift, not just what these questions awaken in her, but what they awaken in you. Thank you for being here, for listening with such openness, for showing up as a man who is ready to engage not just in romance, but in true relational depth. If this conversation spoke to you, if you feel moved, intrigued, inspired, please take a moment to share your thoughts in the comments. I love hearing your reflections, your stories, your experiences. They matter. And if you haven't already, make sure to like this video and subscribe to the Intimacy Lab, because we will continue to explore these beautiful, complex, sometimes messy, always fascinating dynamics of love, intimacy, and desire together. You are not alone on this journey, and this channel is a space where we meet as equals, as seekers, as people who believe that intimacy is worth cultivating, worth protecting, worth celebrating. So here's to you, to the courage it takes to ask differently, to the beauty of listening deeply, to the magnetic power of being fully present. Here's to becoming the kind of man who makes desire safe, alive, playful, and profound. Until next time, breathe, be present, stay curious. And above all, love well.